Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the background campaign for Hero Realms. The summer of Lovecraft is over now, and we're going to take a small break from the Cthulhu mythos today. Though the break won't last long, more on that toward the end of the video. Today we're going to step back into the background campaign for Hero Realms for the first, but hopefully not last, time in the new apartment. This campaign is currently in peril due to our first loss on the third scenario, the Ritual. One more loss here will see the campaign end, per the house rule I introduced to help with the treadmill experience. Anyway, to refresh everyone, let's first go ahead and set the scene. So a little bit of story here. You make your way to the cobbler's shop and find the entrance to the caverns. You move quickly with your lantern unlit and rely on your night vision to guide you. Hiding in the shadows, you come across a vast ceremonial space. A priestess stands on a dais chanting, along with dozens of her followers. Behind the priestess, a large brazier burns, and above it you see a huge formless shadow. With each beat of the chant, the shadow seems to grow and twist. You realize the priestess is mere moments away from summoning the demon. You draw your weapons, but then the priestess turns toward your hiding place. "Welcome," she booms, her voice magically amplified. "Enter and bear witness to the end of Thandar." We've done all the setup off camera, but I will talk about I'll talk about the special rules here. So during setup, we defeated the Runos Zealot in scenario 2, so we have the Vexing Imp, and we'll meet the Vexing Imp when we go over toward the board. Several effects say to add cards to the Ritual. We'll have a ritual pile for that. That will come into play later. All four of the Runos Archpriestess powers are favored. When you flip a card with a favored symbol, that'll be the 4 spikes around the card. Resolve her powers one at a time from top to bottom, refilling the market after each one. Oh boy, we could add a lot of cards to the Ritual in a hurry on that. Each of her powers adds cards to the Ritual from one of the 4 factions. If multiple cards of the chosen faction are tied for the highest cost, each of those cards are added to the Ritual. This is a 2-part encounter. It isn't over when you defeat the Runos Archpriestess, so don't put anything away after you defeat her. Players continue with the same dex and current health, and we'll get into how we resolve the end of the scenario later. But anyway, so that's the intro. Let's move over to the starting market, my starting hand, and the campaign abilities to this point. Alright, we'll start off with a look at the wizard, who starts off with 50 health. I'm going to use... She's just off shot, but I'll use dice to track that rather than the cards that the game comes with. Special ability, looks like we have a copy of Channel. I think we only are supposed to have 1 for the campaign. So we can exhaust this and spend 2 gold to lose a health and draw a card. That could come in handy. Then Fire Blast. We can sacrifice this to deal 4 damage to target master or minion. And those are our campaign abilities to this point. Yep, and then our starting hand, we'll take a look at that. Comes with mostly gold, but yeah, we can probably work with this. We'll see what we end up with. Hopefully we'll be able to take out the Hopefully we'll be able to take out the minion we start with, but we'll talk about that more when we move up to the boss. But anyway, starting with the market, our first card here is a Wolf Shaman for 2 trade. When we exhaust the champion, we get 2 combat plus an additional 1 for each other wild card I have in play. Next up, we have a Spark for 1 trade, 3 combat, target opponent discards a card, and on an ally ability you get 2 combat. Now the way discarding a card works in this game is you'll look at the top card of the adversary deck, and you can either choose to leave it there or discard it. In Star Realms, if a player would discard a card, you just get a straight extra +3 combat. So it works a little bit differently here. Next up, Nature's Bounty for 4 trade, which gives you 4 trade and ally ability. Target opponent discards a card. Additionally, you can sacrifice it to get 4 combat. Next up, Direwolf for 5. Wow, we got all the wild cards here. Exhaust this to get 3 trade, 3 combat. Ally ability gives you another 4, and it's got a guard of 5. The Wolf Shaman that we saw earlier didn't have that. Basically, these are the equivalent of the outposts in Star Realms, so you'd have to attack those first. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. And our last card is Peril the Enforcer for 5 trade. It's a blue card. You get, when you exhaust him, you get 3 combat, ally ability with a blue faction, draw a card, and a guard of 5. And then the fire gems are just always available to be bought. You get 2 gold from those and scrap those for 3 combat. Anyway, that's the starting market and opening hand. Now let's go meet our adversary. Okay, so we'll take a look at our adversary. Next, we've got the Runos Archpriestess, who starts off with 30 health. It was kind of hard to see zoomed out. She starts off at level 1. We need 3 mastery cards to level her up. She plays 1 card a turn. And then again, as we mentioned, all 4 powers are favored. So each one adds the respective faction card to the ritual. Then our starting minion that we start with, this guy caused us a lot of problems last time we played this, was the Vexing Imp. We actually defeated the Runos Zealot, so he technically gets returned to the box. But anyway, he starts off in the Master's area. When I play 2 red cards in 1 turn, I can stun this minion. When he exhausts, I discard a random card, and he's got 7 health, not a guard. We are probably going to need to get rid of him as fast as we can. So, because that making us discard a random card caused us a lot of problems the first time we played this scenario. But, yes, it is typical stopping a ritual, and I prefer to do it for obvious reasons before we flip the boss card over. But that might be hard to do, and I'll provide a link to the first playthrough of this scenario in the description down below. Anyway, that should be everything we set up, so let's jump into the scenario with my first turn. Looking at my hand right now, I've got my Cat Familiar, a Fire Staff, total of 3 gold, and an Arcane Wand that lets me draw a card. So right now, I've actually got a base of 6 combat if I decide to trash the Fire Blast, but we get to draw a card from the Arcane Wand, so we find an Ignite for 2 combat, which actually gives me another 1, I think it is, from the Arcane Wand. Right? Yes. Yes, the Arcane Wand gives me 1, so I've got 4 right now. If I pop the Fire Blast, and I will, that's 8 combat, 7 of which I'll use to take out the Vexing Imp for my first shot. And then the other 1 I'll throw at the boss for 1, bringing her down to 29. And then I will exhaust the Cat Familiar. Let's see, I've got 3 gold right now, so I'll exhaust the Cat Familiar for another 1 to bring me up to 4. And then for that 4, I'll buy the Wolf Shaman for 2, and then we'll replace that immediately. We'll find an Elven Gift for 2. I get 2 trade from this, and I may draw a card if I do discard a card. Ally ability gives me 4 combat. I may be buying that, I'm not going to be buying that like next, but I will grab the Spark just because the ability to manipulate the top of the deck is actually very powerful. And then if this is a 1, I'll probably grab it. If not, the other trade will float away. We find Rayla Endweaver for 4 trade. I can exhaust her to get 3 combat and another red faction draw card, non-guard of 4. Still, that might actually be pretty tempting to go for, but definitely want to look into building up my ally abilities with the wild first. But anyway, that will do it for my turn. We'll move all of these over to the discard pile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll take a quick look at the hand. See that we've got a decent amount of gold and more attack coming through, we'll unexhaust the Cat Familiar, and then we'll move up to the Ruinos Archpriestess. Okay, first things first, we flip over the top card of the deck. We find a Mastery in yellow. So we resolve based on the symbol in the top left. So we would add the highest yellow cost card in the market to the ritual, except there are no yellow cards in the ritual in the market right now. So now it's a Mastery, which means we just attach it to the boss. We need 3 of those to level up. And then since we defeated the Vexing Imp, we don't have to worry about any attack, any discarding of the hand. And then there was no attack, so that was a very uneventful first turn for the Ruinos Archpriestess. Let's move back over to yours truly for round 2. With a free hand here, there's definitely a temptation to do some seriously crazy stuff. So, I think what we'll do here is we'll play the Ignite for 2 combat, and we'll play 3 more gold plus a 4th, and the next action I buy this turn costs me 1 less. Then I'll exhaust that for another gold to bring me up to 5. The 2 combat will go right at the boss and bring her down to 27. If I can ever flip that die over. There we go. And then I've got 5 with my next action costing me 1 less. There's some very tempting stuff out there for... Do I want the Elven Gift or do I want the Dire Wolf? I think for 5 trade, I am going to go ahead and take the Dire Wolf, just because I know I've got the Wolf Shaman in my deck already. So I know this will combo very nicely, plus it's a guard champion. So I can use that to hopefully protect my health a little bit, but that's the end of the turn, so I'll unexhaust my Cat Familiar. And we'll go ahead and draw back up. Oh, we gotta replace the market first. So replacing in the market... We have Master Weigh-In for 4 trade. Yellow, for our first yellow card, so this would have gone into the ritual had it been out last turn. Exhaust to get 3 plus another 3 combat plus another combat for each other champion I have in play. I'm going to go ahead and turn the light on over my head, just so I can maybe read this stuff a little bit better. Yes, the light's a little harsh, but I think I can deal with that. Which actually might open me up for some other channel ID, for other content on the channel, but I won't get into that here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looking here, we see it's going to be another pretty generic hand for a turn, but let's not get ahead of myself there. Let's move back up to the Ruinos Archpriestess. The boss has 1 Mastery attached to her, and I know this won't be a Mastery. What do we find instead? A Fire Pentagram. But we got to deal with the green card first, so we lose the highest green cost to the ritual, which is the Nature's Bounty. That was probably going to be next on my agenda, but alas, we don't get that. So refilling the market, we have Krythos Master Vampire for 7 trade. When you exhaust it, you get 3 combat, and you may exhaust a hand. You may sacrifice a card in your hand or discard pile. If you do, gain an additional 3 combat, so that'll go into the ritual, or into the market. Now we can actually look at the Fire Pentagram, the hazard. Whenever the Master flips a red card, this deals 5 damage to you and to each of your champions, then clear this hazard. When you play a card that costs 5 trade, clear this hazard. So we'll put that up with the boss. And then once again, she doesn't gain any trade or any combat, so she can't make a villainous attack against me. So the priest is actually off to a much slower start. It helped getting rid of that imp as early as we did. But anyway, now let's move into round 3. We've got another pretty slow turn lined up. We'll play out an Ignite, and we've got 4 trade plus plus the action we buy costs 1 less to buy. I'll prepare the Cat Familiar to give me another gold, bringing me up to 5. I'll throw the 2 combat from the Ignite at the boss to bring her down to 25. There we are. And then with 5 trade, or with 5 gold, I'll use 1 of it to buy the Elven Gift. Once again, you get 2 trade. You may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. An ally ability gives me 4 combat. Then replacing that will be taxation for 1 gold. You get 2 gold, and if you have another yellow card, you heal 6 health. But for my other 4, I think we'll take Master Wayan, just because he synergizes nicely with the team, and I'm hopefully going to start getting some of my champions online. And then replacing that will be Tyrannor the Devourer for 8 trade. Exhaust to get 4 combat, and you may sacrifice up to 2 cards in your hand or discard pile, and on an ally ability, draw a card. So we'll unexhaust the Cat Familiar, draw back up, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as long as we don't... Ooh, we're going to get a lot of combat coming up this turn. But as long as we don't flip over a red card, we will be able to clear that fire pentagram next turn. But anyway, let's move up to the Runos Archpriestess and see what she's doing. Flipping a red card here wouldn't even hurt too terribly much, because it would clear the pentagram out, and it would only lose me my Cat Familiar. But either way, I'm going to be clearing that on my next turn, even if this is not a red card. So let's see what it is. It's another fire pentagram that actually goes away. That'll actually we'll actually clear both of them. But we get a yellow card, so we add the taxation to the ritual, and then replacing that in the ritual, or in the marketplace, is the Rot for 3 gold. You get 4 combat, and you may sacrifice a card in your hand or discard pile, and an ally ability gives you 3 combat. So once again, no attack from the villain. This one is thankfully going quite a bit slower than the last play of this did, but the priestess got out to a very quick start, and we just never could get on track. But seems like things are starting to come online in this go-around, but anyway, let's drop into round 4 and see what I'm doing. What I'm doing here is, in all honesty, getting ready to rock that Archpriestess. So, we'll start off with the Wolf Shaman, which gives me 2 combat plus 1 for each other wild card I have in play. Then we'll play out the Dire Wolf, which will give me 3 when I exhaust him, and on an ally ability gives me 4. Then we'll play 3 more trade from the... or 3 more combat from the Fire Staff and the Ignite, and 2 gold from the Silver Skull Amulet. So, I think we'll exhaust the Cat Familiar to go up to a 3rd gold to buy the Rot. So I can hopefully start getting some of this stuff out of my deck. And then replacing that in the marketplace will be Hit Job for 4 gold. You get 7 combat from it, and on an ally ability with a blue faction, stun target champion. Now, because I played a card that cost me 5 gold, both of these fire hazards get cleared. Yep, when I play a card that costs 5. So, both of those are gone. And I've got 4 combat, plus another 3 from exhausting the ring. Actually, I've got 7 combat right now from the Fire Staff and the Ignite, and then the 4 from the ally ability on the Dire Wolf. So 7 plus another 3 will bring me up to 10, plus another 3 from the Wolf Shaman will bring me up to 13, and that'll bring the Runos Archpriestess down to 12. So we'll adjust that. Very productive turn on the attack front. Then we'll move these all over. Unexhaust all my champions, which are starting to come online now, thankfully. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll reshuffle these. So as long as we don't get sidetracked, we might actually be able to flip the Archpriestess this next turn. Or actually, we might be able to defeat the Priestess, but let's not get ahead of myself there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll see what we've got. Oh, nice. We're definitely gonna do a lot of damage, assuming everything survives, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself there. Let's move up and see what the Archpriestess is doing. I suspect we're going to be off to the races here before too long, but let's find out what we've got from the top of the deck. We find a red mastery, so it is a good thing we got rid of those fire pentagrams. But anyway, we add Tyrannor to the ritual and then replacing him on the market deck, because that's the highest cost red faction card. Replacing him is Death Touch for 1 gold. You get 2 combat and you may sacrifice a card in your hand or discard pile. Ally ability with the red faction gives you 2 combat. Now, the boss still has 2 mastery cards and she needs 3 to level up. So we kind of get away with 1 on that front, but we'll go into round 5 next, and I'm going to be doing a lot of damage to her. So let's see what we can do. We'll start off with the Arcane Wand, which will let me draw a card, so I'll find the Rot, which lets me sacrifice a card in my hand or discard pile for 4 combat, which I'll go ahead and play that out, and I'll sacrifice a gold just to get some junk out of my deck, so that'll give me 4 combat, plus the 4 I'm starting with from the Direwolf is 8. We've got 2 more gold, and we're going to have like I said, we're going to do a lot of damage to this boss. So, on the Spark, target opponent discards a card. Let's find out what's on top of the boss's deck. We find... oh geez, the Stone Golem. Exhausts for 5 combat, and that minion can't be defeated except by damage. With 9 health, no thank you. We're just going to go ahead and discard that. Okay, so I've got 5 plus 4 is 9. Right. Okay, let me tally this up. So 5 combat on the ally ability, plus 4 is 9, plus 4 is 13, plus another 3. Okay, hold up. So 9, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. What am I doing for 2 trade? For 2 trade, I think I'll buy the Death Touch. And if this is a 1 cost, I'll grab it as well. But it's another Rot for 3, which might be something good to grab. And then we've got a total of, let me total this up, I think it was 20 combat we established. So 5, 9, 10, 13, and 7 is 20. 12 of which will go at the Archpriestess, so I'm going to grab a mark here just to remind myself that I've got 8 combat left. So I'll use that to represent that I've got 8 combat left, and we have defeated the Archpriestess, but we're not done yet. Wrong book. Here we go. Okay, so we reduce the Master's health to 0, so we go to Chapter 8. The Ruinos Archpriestess is defeated. The priestess is mortally wounded, but as she falls to her knees, she spreads her arms wide. With her dying breath, she hisses, "You're too late. Too late." By defeating the Ruinos Archpriestess, you've weakened her ritual. Put the top 5 cards of the ritual on the bottom of the market deck. The player who defeated the Archpriestess continues their turn. They may not attack, target, or otherwise affect the master for the rest of their turn. They may still attack minions. When that player's turn ends, go to Chapter 11. So what did it say? Top 5 cards of the ritual on the bottom of the market deck. So we only had added 3 cards to the market deck, or to the ritual. So unfortunately, the rest of that 8 attack is going to go to waste. So the Archpriestess right now has been defeated. Alright, and then all of this will move to my discard pile. My champions will already. We'll draw back up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we see that we've got Trade, but more importantly, Master Weigh-In getting ready to come online. But now that my turn's over, let's go to Chapter 11 and see what happens. The demon is summoned. The shadow shape coalesces and a massive roar fills the chamber as the demon enters this dimension. Before the master phase, resolve the ritual as follows. Take the stack of ritual cards and separate them into 4 piles, 1 for each faction or color. If there are any factionless cards, set them aside. I wonder how that would work if there were 0 cards. Count the number of cards in each pile. The pile that has the most cards determined which demon was summoned. See below. If there's a tie for the most, they're all tied at 0. Add cards from the top of the market deck, 1 at a time, until any of the piles has more cards than the other 3. The color will determine which demon was summoned. See below. Each pile of cards has an effect as follows. Blue. For each blue card in the ritual, stun the highest toughness champion among all players. Green. Starting with the active player and moving clockwise around the table, each player discards a random card until the group has discarded cards equal to the number of green cards in the ritual. Red. Each player loses health equal to twice the number of red cards in the ritual. Yellow. The demon gains health equal to 3 times the number of yellow cards in the ritual. Now shuffle all of the ritual cards back into the market deck, then shuffle the master's discard pile and any mastery cards that were attached to the Ruinos Archpriestess into the master's deck. So the way I'm reading that is we're basically going to just flip over the... It sounds like we're just going to flip over the top card of the market deck, and whichever demon, and whichever color it is the demon that we're summoning. Yeah, I think that's probably how it works. I'll have to look up a ruling on BGG, but that sounds like about what I'm getting out of that. So I'm just going to make a quick editing note here. Ruling on 0 cards in ritual at flip. Anyway. Okay, so the top card of the market deck sounds like it's determining what demon we're summoning. We're summoning blue. So I think that was stun the highest. I think that refers to all champions too, doesn't it? I believe so. Just looking in the rules here. Because last time we were able to get a... Yeah, so looks like we do stun the Dire Wolf, which is going to slow us down a little bit, but hopefully not too much. So anyway, that'll end up getting shuffled back in, and we'll go to Chapter 12 once I finish shuffling the ritual back up, or once I finish shuffling the market deck back up. Didn't mean to jar the camera there. Alright, so that's all shuffled up, or as shuffled as it's going to get anyway. And now we move to Chapter 12. The Laughing Shadow. The roar grows and changes, becoming a deep laughter that echoes off the walls. Above the brazier, a pair of great red eyes open and then a jagged mouth grins. The chamber shakes with the demon's laughter and the walls split and crack. The laughter grows in pitch until it's a keening cackle and you're forced to cover your ears. Chunks of stone fall from the ceiling but are lifted up by a shrieking wind. The swirling stones become a maelstrom. You watch followers throw up their hands, but the stones smash through their bodies and hurl them across the chamber. The red eyes of the shadow glow brighter, casting shapeless shadows up onto the floors and walls. Set up for the Laughing Shadow. The master for this part of the encounter is the Laughing Shadow. Replace the oversized Runos Archpriestess card with the oversized Laughing Shadow. Place the card that has a 1 in the level icon in the upper left corner face up. You will continue to use the same master deck you are using with the Runos Archpriestess. Any minions that are still in play remain in play. The master starts with 75 health, plus any bonus from the yellow cards in Chapter 11, which there were none. Note: this master only needs 2 mastery cards to level up. It levels up faster than the other prior masters. And for special rules, when the Laughing Shadow casts a shadow, put the top card of the market deck face down below the leftmost market card that doesn't already have a shadow. When a market card gets acquired, sacrifice its shadow. If you need to add a shadow, but every card in the market already has one, no more shadows will be cast that turn. However, once you're done resolving the current master power, the shadows attack. Reveal all 5 shadows. The Laughing Shadow gains combat equal to their total cost, then sacrifice them. If all players are defeated, you may try again, except the campaign will be over at that point. Go back to Chapter 7. If you defeat the Laughing Shadow, go to Chapter 16. So I'm going to finish that part of setup off camera, and we'll take a look at the Laughing Shadow. And here we have the Laughing Shadow. So level 1, as you can see, only needs 2 cards to level up. Plays 1 card a turn. Starts with 75 health. Blue power is favored here. Cast 2 shadows over 2 of the cards in the market deck. Cast a shadow, discard a card. Red is on green. Red, cast a shadow, stun the highest toughness champion among all players. And on yellow, gains 3 health and casts a shadow. So we'll get the 75 health for that. Okay, this is where losing the Dire Wolf will probably hurt, but if we can get all our champions back online, we might be able to make quick work of this guy. But anyway, we'll give this a quick shuffle just to get everything ready to go. Okay. Alright, so the Master's deck is ready to go. So let's move up to the Laughing Shadow for his first turn. Laughing Shadow will lead off with a blue mastery, so that'll go ahead and cast 2 shadows. So 1 on the hit job, another on Rayla. And then that doesn't do anything further. So yeah, another pretty uneventful turn, but now we need to get moving. So let's drop back down to my play area for round, I think this is probably 6. Convincing me that we need to be in race mode already would not be a hard sell at all, but we definitely need to keep these shadows in check as well. So I'll start out by playing 4 trade that will let me do exactly that. Then I'll play out my Ignite for 2 combat and Master Weigh-In for another 3 plus a guard champion. So we'll start exhausting. The Cat Familiar will give me... I'll take a combat from that so I can plan on starting to race. Then we'll use the Wolf Shaman to get 3 more combat. 2 combat plus 1 for each... Oh, other. Never mind, so that doesn't count itself. Right, so that's another 2 combat from that. Master Weigh-In will exhaust to give me 5 more combat for a total of 5, 7, 8, 10, which I'll throw at the Laughing Shadow right away, bringing him down to 65. And then for 4 gold... I think we'll take Rayla, just because it works better with champions, and that gets sacrificed. And then replacing Rayla will be an Elven Gift for 2. We've seen this before, we acquired it earlier. But anyway, that will move everything over to the discard pile. My champions will prepare. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, actually, yeah, prepare. We can get my champions back online. We should be able to go through this scenario fairly quickly. Although we did just shuffle the deck in, so I have no idea what could be happening here. Because normally the way you build the deck for these scenarios is you're supposed to build it with the masteries approximately evenly spaced. So you're basically supposed to lay out 5 piles with a mastery, then put the scenario cards on top of those, and then shuffle each section separately and stack them on top of each other. So I don't know what's going on in the deck right now. We find that, okay, we're going to be getting a lot of attack on next turn, but I'm getting ahead of myself on that. Let's move up to the Laughing Shadow. The bad news here is we only need 1 more mastery to level the boss up. The good news is it'll do the ability on this side first. So let's find out what we've got here. We find, oh joy, a stone golem for with a green. So cast a shadow and I have to discard a card. So that goes over the Elven Gift. This goes into my play area. And then I have to discard a card. I will discard the spell components because I need combat as fast as I can find it. But anyway. Right. So now the Stone Golem will expend for 5 combat, which will be enough to take out Master Wan and hit me for 1 because it can ignore. It can't take out either of my non-faction champions or neither of my non-guard champions, so it just hits me with the remainder. And we'll take a quick look at the Stone Golem. I can't stun it except with damage, but I think I can get enough damage to take it out on this turn. But anyway, now the minion will prepare. And now we're into round 7, and I need to deal with that Stone Golem pronto. That Stone Golem is a problem, but I don't think it's going to be a big one. So I'll start off with the Spark, which will give me 5 combat right off the bat, and the Master will discard a card, so we'll see what's on top. We find a Captive. Interesting. I think we'll leave that on top, actually, because that'll kind of change out the. That'll give us a little bit of help now that I'm looking at as I was looking at it. Then I will go with the Elven Gift, which will give me 2 combat or 2 trade. I can draw a card if I do discard a card, but I'm not going to. I think I will, actually. Just to get through the deck a little bit faster. So we find. Ooh, Rayla Endweaver. This will be good. And I will discard the. I'll discard the Ignite. And then I'll play out my Fire Staff. Actually, I should have done that first, but it will play out the Fire Staff for one combat. And if I have 2 or more actions, both the Elven Gift and the Spark are actions, so I get to draw a card. I find the Rot. Nice. For 4 trade, and I may sacrifice a card in my hand or discard pile, which I will gladly play that, and I will sacrifice the Ignite, just because I'm starting to get a lot of my engine back online, and then we'll play out Rayla, who we drew, as I'll expend her for 3 combat, and on an ally ability, which I have the Rot, I get to draw a card. So I find a gold. So I have a total of 3. I have a total of 3 gold. If I decide to expend the Cat Familiar for a 4th, I could potentially grab that hit job, which is actually pretty tempting. But we'll have to give that a little bit of thought. Well, let's look at how much combat I've got right now before I expend anything. So I've done the ally ability on Rayla because I drew a lot of cards. So right now, base combat, I have 5-9, which will actually be plenty to take out the stone golem, thank goodness. So that combat's done. I've got 1, 8. So I've got 8, 11. This will give me another. This will give me 4. So 11, 15. And I will take that for a. What do I want to do with the cat familiar? Give me a. Give me another combat with that, actually. Just because I'm at a point where I probably need to start racing, and I think my engine. I think my champions are starting to come online again. Getting rid of that stone golem was actually very helpful on that. So. Okay, so we took out. So the 9 combat there is done. I've got another 8, 12, 15, 16. Which I'll throw that at the boss to bring him down to 30. To bring him down to 49. I can't do first grade math. 49. And then for 3 trade, I will go ahead and grab the Elven Gift. Just to give me something else in there. And then coming out on the trade row, I have Wolf Form for 5. Ooh. 8 combat and target opponent discards a card. That will be very tempting if I can grab it. But anyway, champions will prepare. I'll draw back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We see I'm not going to be near that, but I'm actually getting one of my best champions back this turn, barring anything crazy. So let's go up to the Laughing Shadow. So this is a card we left on top. I kind of alluded it to it helping us out a little bit, but we find a Captive. So we'll do the blue effect first, which means we'll cast 2 shadows over the wolf form and Krythos. But now we do the card. You discover somebody has been captured by the Runos. Go to Chapter 10 of the Adventure deck. So he'll go into play with us, and then we go to Chapter 10 of the Adventure deck. I'll look at his ability in a second, but the Runos have a captive. The Snarling Disciple drives you back against a wall. With a quick strike, you slay your enemy. You sense something to your right and turn to face the next threat. To your surprise, it's the young man the Runos kidnapped from the inn at 4 Rivers. His clothes are in tatters and he's chained to the wall. But when you break his manacles, the look of terror on his face becomes grim determination. He picks up the fallen disciple's weapon and together you rejoin the battle. When the captive is flipped by the master, attach it to either side of the master's card. It is not in play in the master's area. It doesn't do anything while next to the master. It isn't damaged or stunned by card effects. It isn't a minion, so you do not use its expend power when your turn begins. Each time the active player gains health, instead of spending it on their hero or a nearby player's hero, they can spend it on the captive. If they spend 4 or more points in one turn, they acquire the captive card into their discard pile. At that point, the card acts just like any other champion card in their deck. The captive cannot be rescued if there are minions in the master's play area, or in the master's area, or if there are minions in the active player's area. The captive card cannot be sacrificed and returned to playing the game. So the master doesn't get to make an attack, but we don't get the power from that until we can capture it into our deck. But we are probably at a point where we might be further ahead just trying to race. Because the master's at 49 and our engine is most definitely starting to come back online. It's starting to come online. But anyway, let's move into round 8 probably. I'm really bad about keeping track of these round numbers, but hopefully this won't last too much longer. But let's drop back down and see what I'm getting up to. We'll start off with the Arcane Wand and draw a card. For the rest of the turn, whenever I play an action, I gain 1 combat, and we find Another gold, which might actually be welcome here, because that brings me up to exactly 5. And Puppy's back again. So now we've got Wolf ability, so now we've got ally abilities. 5 gold I think will get me the Wolf form, which I was eyeing pretty heavily, and then replacing that in the market. Taxation for 1 gold. We saw this earlier. I get 2 gold, and on an ally ability I get 6 health, which could go to the captive. Which I might actually even be able to grab this turn, but we gotta figure out combat first. So I don't get any combat, or I don't get any combat from the Arcane Wand. I'll expend the Cat Familiar for a gold and grab that. Just because I have Master Wayne in the deck. And what do we find here? We find Recruit for 2 gold. I get 2 gold and 3 health, plus 1 for each champion I have in play. Ally gives me another gold. Okay, then we have 7 from the Wolf, 10, and total of 13 combat from all of my champions, which will go straight into the boss's face to bring him down to 36. 36. And all of this will move to my discard pile. All of my champions prepare. 1, 2... We'll shuffle these up. Right now, if we take all combat, I think we have the boss on, I would say, a 3-turn clock, if I'm being perfectly blunt. But we'll see how long that lasts as I finish drawing up my hand. And we see that, ooh, oh yeah, I have a feeling this game isn't gonna be lasting too much longer, but, oh my. Yeah, I think we're on a 3-turn clock right now at most, but I'm getting ahead of myself there. Let's move up to the Laughing Shadow. Alright, pulling the card first from the top of the deck, we find a Fire Pentagram. When the master flips a red card, it deals 5 damage to me and each of my champions, then clear this hazard. When I play a card that costs 5, I clear this hazard. And then nothing else happens because the boss doesn't have enough combat to make an attack with, thankfully. Wait, green is cast a shadow, discard a card. I almost forgot about that. So we'll cast a shadow and then I discard a card. Is there something that's reasonably useless? Yeah, we'll just discard the Silver Skull Amulet. Because we're going to be doing a lot of damage to the boss this turn, and I don't really need gold right now. So, yeah, like I said, I don't think this game is going to be lasting too much longer, but let's move back into round 9 and find my turn. This is a turn where I'm expecting to have a lot of attack, so I've brought in another set of D% dice to help me track it all. So I'm going to start off with the Arcane Wand, which will let me draw a card. And for the rest of my turn, when I play an action, I gain a combat, so I find Taxation for 1 trade. I get 2 gold from this, and an ally ability would give me 6. But I don't have any other yellow ally abilities in my deck. What I do have, however, is Taxation to give me another 2 trade, which will probably get me the Recruit, but I'm getting ahead of myself there. Then I'll start off with the Rot for 2 combat. Then I've got Death Touch for another 4. Now I'm not going to sacrifice anything in my hand or discard pile, so that's another 4, which brings me up to 5 combat. Then we have the Rot, which will give me another sacrifice effect, but more importantly, it's another 7. So that brings me up to 12. I do get to draw a card from Rayla, so I find another gold, which brings me up to 3. But I'm getting ahead of myself there, so I'll start expending champions now. The Direwolf will give me another 7 to bring me up to 19. Where's the 9 on here? There you are. Another 3 from Rayla to bring me up to 22. Another 2 from the Wolf Shaman to bring me up to 24. And do we go... What do we do with the Cat Familiar? I think we'll go up another... I think we'll take another gold to go up to 4, and I'll grab the hit job just to try to keep shadows roughly in check. And then from here we find influence for 2 gold. I get 3 gold if I play it, and if I sacrifice it, I get 3 combat. But anyway, about that 24 combat, I think we're just going to throw that right at the Laughing Shadow to bring him down to 12. And looking at my board now, I'll get that out of the way. I'll go ahead and prepare my champions and draw my hand. If nothing changes about my board, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nothing changes about my board. That's 7, 8, 9, 10. He's dead on board unless he can do something like wipe all of my champions this turn. And he might still be dead even if, looking at my hand coming out of that turn, there's a decent chance he'll still be dead in a couple turns even if he manages to do that. But let's move up to the Laughing Shadow and see what he can do. A red card or a minion would probably extend this scenario. If he misses those, the scenario is probably over on my next turn, but let's find out. That's a green Mastery, which does level him up, but he does his thing on this side first. So he'll cast a Shadow on Influence. Then I have to discard a card, which I can discard a gold since it just became completely useless at this point. And then he will level up. So we'll take a look at his leveled up side. Blue remains his favored power, where he would cast 3 shadows this time. Then he'd cast a shadow, and for each shadow that's in play, I'd have to discard a card, which right now would be 3. Cast a shadow. Red, that's on green. Red, cast a shadow. For each shadow, I'll stun the highest toughness champion among all players. Ouch. Then yellow would be cast a shadow, gain 3 health for each shadow, but he's still thankfully at a health of 12. And he doesn't do anything on that. So now let's move back into what will probably be the last round of the scenario. Alright, thanks to his inability to touch my board, I think we're going to get there pretty easily. So we'll play we'll finish this out anyway, so we'll play the Elven Gift. I will... no, I'm not going to go ahead and draw a card. So then we'll play the spell components for 1 gold, and the next action I acquire costs a gold less this turn. Master Wayan is back online, now with 4 champions, so this is gonna really hurt. And the Fire Staff, which gives me another 1 combat. Then for 3 gold, I'll go ahead and clear out both of these shadows. The Recruit will cost 1, so that shadow's gone. And then replacing Recruit in the market row. Deception for 5 gold. You get 2 and draw a card. And then on ally ability with a blue faction, put the next card you acquire this turn into your hand. Then the last 2 will buy the influence and clear out the shadow on that. And then we find, to replace influence, profit for 1 gold. It's an action. You get 2 gold from that, and an ally ability gives you 4. So, I guess we are going to use the dice again, just to make sure just to keep track of my attacks. So, I've got 1 from the Fire Staff, plus 4 from the ally ability on the Elven Gift, giving me 5. Then we'll exhaust the Direwolf. Okay, so that's actually up to 9 from the ally ability on the Wolf. Then we'll exhaust the wolf to get up to 12. So I've already got lethal, but I kind of figured I would anyway. So 12, I'm at lethal. Master Wayne will exhaust to give me 3 plus 1 trade for each other champion I have in play, which is another 4, so that's another 7 combat. Then Rayla will exhaust to give me 3 more to bring me up to 22. The Wolf Shaman will exhaust to give me 2 plus 2 more combat for a total of 4, so 26. And the Cat Familiar, just because, will bring me up to 27 combat. Then we'll throw that at the boss and bring him down to negative 15 health. So with that, let's move into resolving the scenario. So we've managed to save this background campaign, but we do have 1 loss on this scenario. We have one loss on the campaign. So the way the house rule works is we now have to lose 3 more times unless it's twice on another scenario. But we have managed to win this first part of the Hero Realms background campaign. But anyway, getting ahead of myself there. So let's take a look at the heroes are victorious. You have vanquished the demon. You are exhausted and want to collapse, but you force yourself to keep your feet. There remains work to do. Most of the followers are dead, massacred by the demon, but you bind the survivors so the city watch can take them. During the battle, you freed the young man from his chains, and he proved to be no small ally. After he's gathered himself, he speaks to you with an unexpected grace. You have my eternal thanks, he says, bowing low, and I'm sure my father will reward you greatly. Puzzled, you ask him who his father is. The young man seems shocked. You don't know who I am? And yet you fought that horrific demon to save my life? I fear I have underestimated your virtue, my new friend. He steps back and bows low. I am Calathiel, son of Lord Governor Rathiel, at your service. If you weren't so tired, you'd laugh. You're speaking to royalty. Rathiel is the Emperor's brother, and the man in front of you is the Emperor's nephew. The priestess had apparently intended a royal sacrifice for the demon. As the watch seizes the prisoners and a healer tends to Calathiel's injuries, something draws you to a corner of the chamber. You find a broken remnant of the slain demon. The relic pulses lightly in your hand, and you wonder what sort of magic may yet linger inside. You fold a cloth around the item and place it in your pack. As you make your way above ground, you wonder what time it is. Perhaps the inn at Four Rivers is still open. The gods know you could use a drink. Isn't that the truth? Rewards. There are 4 relic cards, 1 for each of the 4 demons. The group finds the one that matches the demon you defeated. In future campaign encounters for this group, add the relic to the market deck. Each character earns a character point and may spend it to upgrade one of their skills or abilities or buy an additional health card. We'll deal with the upgrade in a minute. First, we need to find the appropriate relic. Encounter Ruins of Thandar, encounter 3. We had... Wait a minute. Something... No, I think this is encounter 2. Encounter 2... What in the world did I do with encounter 3? Alright, I'm going to have to search for that off camera. I'll be right back. Mystery solved. I put it in with the treasures, which kind of makes sense because it doesn't have the label on it, but anyway. Let's take a look at this. So this is the relic we found from defeating the Laughing Shadow. The Stone of Laughing Shadow. For 6 gold, sacrifice the top 3 cards of the market deck. This card becomes a copy of one of those cards, your choice, until the end of your main phase. It is still a blue item relic in addition to the copied card's faction and types. So we can so it's another way we can trigger allied abilities if we need them. But and then the market and the skill point that we have. looking at the... Let's see, looking at what the wizard has, we didn't really use channel all that much. Fire Blast actually came in very much in handy. Let me take a quick look here. Look at the top two cards, draw one and put the other back. That's Deep Channel for the wizard. That's the next ability skill. And then Fireball deals 4 damage to each master and minion in the target area. Ooh. And then additional health is just probably like an additional 5 health. And then we would just flip that over probably. So, which one do I want? I think I actually want... I have not been making use of channel at all in this campaign. But I think I probably would make a little bit more use of... card selection. So I'm actually going to take Deep Channel. So I can expend this and spend 2 gold to lose a health and look at the top 2 cards of my deck. Draw 1 and put the other back, so I can use that to help me set up for my next turn. So that's how we'll spend that ability point. Then I'll file these back away. Here we go. Wizard, skill, and ability cards. There we go. Okay. So that is all handled there. Fireball seems... That's a 3rd level ability, so I shouldn't actually have that out yet, but we can put that back, and that's all handled. So anyway, I'll have to do cleanup off camera, but more importantly, we will get, and then we actually have an epilogue to read as well, so I've been rambling along that, but anyway. A few months later, the ceremony is short and private. Most of Thandar is unaware of what occurred that night, Lord Governor Rathiel explains, and I would have it remain that way. 2 guardsmen look on impassively as Rathiel gives you his fervent thanks as well as a title, Protector of Thandar. When he places a small chest of gold on the table, you attempt to refuse, but he refuses your refusal. Take it, please. I'm afraid you'll need it to buy supplies. With a grim smile, he unfurls a map of the lands surrounding the city of Thandar. He points to a small dot on the edge of the map. This is Heart's End. It's a small village, south of River Down. A quiet place they mostly keep to themselves, or so I'm told. It's known for... The Lord Governor pauses. He tilts his head, clearly thinking hard, then evidently gives up. Well, not known for anything as near as I can tell. Just the same, they have sworn fealty to Thandar, and therefore are under our protection. Rathiel's face turns serious. You did Thandar a great service in slaying that monster and saving my son. And now, I ask for your aid a second time. Go to Heart's End. Go and find out what happened. Perhaps this Runos sect is up to some malevolence. You ask what has happened to the people of Heart's End. That's just the problem, the Lord Governor says. The entire village is missing. The adventure continues in the Lost Village campaign deck, which won't be next week, but we do get to continue the Hero Realms background campaign after eating 1 loss on the ritual. But anyway, that will do it for this try of the 3rd scenario, and again, we continue the campaign. So next week is Labor Day weekend, and Labor Day, as many of you probably consider, and me as well, is the unofficial start of fall. We're going to take advantage of this fact by getting ready to start the fall campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. If you remember all the way back to Victory in Europe Day back in May when I played Black Orchestra, I alluded to what I had settled on for the schedule structure for the Arkham Horror card game campaigns. And I'm going to stick to that by making this year's fall campaign another return. This year, we'll be returning to the Circle Undone. Later this week, we'll meet the investigators, and return gives us a way to skip the prologue scenario, which we'll be making use of in that same video. Anyway, after all that, Sunday we'll have the first scenario of the campaign as we return to the witching hour. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.